Kasim with the Daily Google News, and I'm super excited today. I'm always excited to interview people just because I like people and I like learning, but I'm especially excited when I get to interview my friends because it doesn't happen as often as it should. Honestly, because the Venn diagram doesn't always overlap between friends and people who would provide value. This dude is an obvious exception. He's been a buddy for a while through Front Row Dads, which is an organization we're both involved in. He's a brilliant entrepreneur, super scrappy, fun to talk to, work with, listen to. He's the partner and co-founder of betterthanrich.com. Mike Abramowitz, thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're one of my favorite people that I've met at FRD for a bunch of reasons, dude. Like you're amazing father, amazing husband. I love how you, better than maybe anybody, always bring things back to family first when we're having the FRD discussions. Like the rest of us, we'll wear the hat, right? Like, you know, family men with businesses, not businessmen with families. But then we go straight into mastermind mode and it's how do we make more money? And my compliment to you is I think I've seen you more than anybody else on our biweekly calls usually pull things back to, you know, hey, this is freedom. This is how you free yourself. This is like you've told some of your story about how you were able to take a really significant amount of time off. And you were able to do that through these pretty amazing mechanisms that you built. And if you want to talk about that, I'm sure everybody listening would love to hear about it.
Well, I received that because it's taken intention. I think Mike Abramowitz, maybe a decade ago, that wasn't the case. It was very much in grind season, you know, being scrappy business owner. But when I proposed to my wife in February 2017, I made the commitment. I said, I got to make sure that I am a present husband and father to this next chapter of life, because my dad still to this day is 82 years old, runs a plumbing business up in New Jersey, works 6 days a week. He missed a lot of basketball games, and I get my ambition from him, but I don't aspire to run a business the way he has run a business. So I made the commitment in 2017. I said, all right, how do I make sure that I can be that family man with a business as I enter into marriage? This is before I joined Front Row Dads. And, you know, we have our son, James, now, but we could get into the weeds of the details of the story, but the short of it is I was in direct sales, systemized my direct sales business so I can have time freedom, so I can be a more present father. When that chapter began, complications through our journey of getting pregnant led to us being our son being born at 1 pound 4 ounces and this on New Year's Eve 2020, and we were in the hospital with him for 8.5 months. So because of those systems I put in the business was able to run without me and produce over 6 figures in profits without me there. So I can be present. And now James is thriving. He's doing fantastic. He'll be 3 this New Year's Eve, and we have our daughter on the way in 8 weeks, and things are fantastic. And it's really that season of uncertainty, though, of like being away from the business and also being in the hospital and navigating 8.5 months, but then seeing on the other end is like, wow, this was profitable. Would other people want to learn how to do this? Right. Hence where I partnered with Andrew for Better Than Rich. I was like, let's see, let's find out. So we created programs and we could dive into some of those things, but ultimately, I saw there was a need in the marketplace. And so I doubled down on that. And now we serve hundreds of people, teaching them exactly how to buy back their time, leveraging business systems, automation, delegation. And it's been fantastic.
Dude, I love that. And I love the direction you took. And I love that you're able to connect it to your story. I've been viewed by some people close to me as money obsessed. I get kind of that little poke, like, dude, you're always talking about money. You're always worried about money. And my soundbite for them always is, I drive a 40-year-old Honda. I'm not worried about money for the reasons you think I'm worried about money. I'm worried about money because, and this is what I think a lot of people maybe don't necessarily connect the right way, is money buys things other than Lamborghinis. Like money bought you those 8 months. You know what I mean? What a gift that was. And I like the buy back your time. Money can buy a whole lot of things other than just, you know, flash. So if you're listening to this or watching this, that's one thing. I actually wrote a thread about it this morning. It's funny that we're talking about it. If you can change your framework with money, I think it really helps on the acceptance piece, like earning, attracting, whatever word you want to use. Money is very hard if you have a negative frame with it. But if you can look at money as something that yields those, you know, more or less tangible, let's say, more ethereal, ephemeral, whatever, stores of value, then it it becomes more accessible. I don't know if you agree or disagree,
Well,
or you can probably say that better than I just did.
well, here's the thing. I agree with you because of the seasons I've been in. In my mid 20s, in my early 20s, I had 3 rental properties. So at 20, I bought my first house. 22, I had 3 properties before I graduated college. So I was
No
22
way.
years old, crushing it. And then the market collapsed. So I went from having property valuation and all this, probably, $500,000, $1 million, whatever in property value, everything. Market collapses. I go belly up. Properties get vandalized. I can't pay mortgages. I'm getting crushed. My credit score, I had to actually part from those properties, deficiency judgments against me, negative $130,000 in debt that I climbed myself out of with a 400 credit score. So that was 10 years ago. So you bet your ass I had to really rewire my relationship with money being in business and direct sales, where it's like, how can I make sure that I don't look at my clients, my recruits, my business as a bunch of dollar signs? How can I look at them as people versus how can I look at them as, I need to make sure I pay off my debts? So it's like, I had to go through that storm and shift the paradigm. But now, 10 years later, accredited investor, I'll say maybe $650,000 in savings and investments, paid off those debts. It's, I'm not where at the Kasim level, but to go where I was to where I am, I feel really fucking proud. I'm sorry, I curse. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this.
All over. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm feel really proud of
canceled a long time ago.
climbing out of that hole. But now my relationship with money is, I'm really fired up that we provided 30, 40 jobs this year and paid out over $200,000 in our startup to provide jobs to people, and contribution fed over 100,000 people with my nonprofit. I started PB&J for Tampa Bay. So this servant heart of being unattached from money was really beneficial for me when I had none. And it's also really beneficial for me when I have some. So that paradigm around money is important. It is important for people to question. It's like, if you won the lottery right now and all your money problems are solved, would you still be passionate, on purpose, and purpose driven around all the activities that you're doing? Is your business a vehicle for something, or is your business life? So I view my business as a vehicle towards something, and towards something is to educate, inspire, and be a force for good for myself and others. And it's like, that's the reason why I'm in business. And I let that business be a vehicle, regardless of what business that is, to fuel that purpose. Very deep on that, but that's a paradigm for me.
Stated. I had a mentor for a long time that used to ask people, do you own a business or do you own a job? And everybody knew right away what he was saying, and they knew right away which one they owned.
Oh yeah.
So you're one of the few people I've known that's done what it is that we're about to talk about. Hold on. I think you're the only person I know that's done this. I'm going to try to phrase it in my terms. Okay. And then you fix it. You say AI informed virtual assistants specifically for lead generation.
We do lead generation. I wouldn't say specifically for lead gen. We also do video editing and graphic design, and the team will do admin work. Some of them do phone calls, but I would say we've really dialed in the lead gen piece for our own internal company and our own internal staff. And then we started testing with a couple of test geniuses as far as our clients go, and wanted to, see if we could do it for them. And we're helping them. And we have a list of maybe about 20 beta tests of our clients that we've done this with, and they're seeing great results. So now we can officially say, yes, okay, we have AI informed virtual assistants generating leads for business owners. And it's pretty wild at some of the engagement and response rates, some of the totals that we have overall as a company with our clients, but also internally for us as well as we continue to navigate. So I think it would be extremely valuable to explore that.
No, I think so too. So I'm looking at some of your data here. Do you mind sharing the metrics, just because the people that watch and listen to this, it's a bunch of data nerds you're talking to.
Sure.
So give them the case study first, and then we'll give them the how-to.
Sure. So in totals, just Facebook and LinkedIn, this is total my account and my business partner's account. Now his account, his beta test is a little lower because we're doing a couple split tests. And one of the little small nuances on his numbers is he's not as attractive as I am. So because of that, his numbers aren't as,
if we saw
high.
Andrew, people would see that.
We would see that clear.
It'd be obvious.
It would be obvious why my response
He's
rate
actually
is higher
kind of
than
repellent. I mean, it's not even about attraction. It's about,
it is. It's like, this. So, but his numbers happen to be lower than mine. But our team sent out 3,300 messages in the last 4 months. And out of those 3,300 messages on LinkedIn and Facebook, we got 816 responses, which is a 24% response rate overall. My Facebook, just mine, we sent out 707 messages, 293 responses with that's a 41% response rate. So you imagine sending 100 messages, cold DMs on Facebook, and getting 40 people to respond. 1,000 cold DMs on Facebook, getting 400 responses. So the engagement is really, really exciting. So I would love to dive into some of the stuff that we figured out on how to leverage our team, our AI informed virtual assistants, to get those. For our clients, our average as a company is about 20%, because some of them don't have a really great social media presence. So that kind of hurts the numbers a little bit. But for my Facebook, it's real. I'm very pleased with what I've kind of figured out with using what we call a 3-2-1 methodology. I learned from a fellow front row dad, Mike Chu, and just kind of ran with it. So I'd love to dive into that if we're ready for it.
Yeah. So first of all, Mike, there's another repellent guy, right? Like,
big time.
It's hard to look at. Just
yeah.
What's wrong with his stomach? If you know, what are those things?
I don't have those, so I don't know.
have those either. Right? It looks flawed to me. We're gonna stop ribbing our friends. Let's dive into it. 3, 2, 1. Hold on. I want to scaffold something, because you just said something that was so integrous that I really appreciate. You said, here are the results that I'm getting. The results that I'm getting for my clients are diluted because. Most people don't say that. Most people are just like, oh, look at what I'm doing. I'm awesome. I'm whatever. And then when they try to open it up to a broader audience, there is a dilution, because you have found that people haven't necessarily invested in the ways that you've invested, or they don't have whatever it is that you might have. So I really appreciate the approach to that. And it also speaks to the need to build your social presence, create content and communicate with people and do those things. So anyway, brief tangent, 3, 2, 1, go.
So 3, 2, 1, simple as 3 likes, 2 comments, and 1 authentic message. That's easy. Anyone can do that. I think what most people do is they try to just go to the direct message, and then they'll comment saying something like, hey, shot you a DM, or check your inbox.
Dude, that infuriates me. There's nothing that pisses me off more. It's so, I'm like, you just tell me what to do now? Like, God. It's 3 likes, 2 comments, 1 authentic message.
Correct. And we do hearts, so loves, and the like concept, there are parameters to this, but it's like how active are the people we're messaging? Make sure we don't post on something that was posted like 6 years ago. Like, there are some parameters there. So they're going fishing for a prospect. We tell them where to go, who's our avatar. So for me right now, I'm a 7-time firewalker with Tony Robbins. I crewed with him. I've traveled with him. I could teach his philosophies. I'm absolutely huge fan. So I'm fishing in a Tony Robbins pond. So so my VA will go in to the pond that I directed them to go, and they will go to their profile, find 3 posts that they can love, find 2 posts that they can comment on. And the comment isn't like, cool pic. Yeah. The comment is very much like, let's use ChatGPT and AI saying, so take their post, put it into my tone analyzer. So using the tone analyzer in ChatGPT with Mike Abramowitz's tone, and say, how would Mike reply in a comment on social media to this post in under 160 characters? Because I don't want this long, giant thing. So they'll use my tone on 2 comments, so the authentic comments, and then drop into their inbox and say, hey, I really loved your post about blank, really great insights on blank, or whatever it might be. And then it says what I want to say, which is, I'm a 7-time firewalker. I wanted to connect with you as Tony Robbins, because I believe that I can serve those people. I believe that our service, a lot of them are passion-driven, oriented individuals who want to take their purpose and passion and turn it into a profitable business. And I've done that. So I would love to connect with them and see if there's some synergy for where I can help. So I lead in with saying, 7-time firewalker, I love Tony. Have you been a firewalker too? That's kind of like the engagement. I pair that with a voice memo. Then on Facebook has a feature where I don't have to, you could just forward the voice memo. So LinkedIn, you can't. So my stats are a little lower on LinkedIn, but the voice memo says something like, and by the way, I just wanted to kind of break through your inbox. I want to let you know I'm not a bot. I'm actually human. I wanted to, just say, I really appreciate it. I see we have a few mutual friends, sidebar. We only do this with individuals who I have at least a few mutual friends with. So I see we have a few mutual friends. If you're connected with some people I know, I figure I should be connected with you. Hopefully that's cool. I look forward to hearing from you. So that 3-2-1 methodology, it does take a little bit longer, where we could only send
Oh,
out
damn
a
it. Not
limited
immediate
number.
results. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
yeah.
so we could only send out maybe 20 a day or something like that, sometimes 15, somewhere in that range, because it does take a little bit of time. But the response rate, the engagement rate is really high. And then once we get once we get the response, now they raise their hand. And now we use the AI tone analyzer, our virtual assistant team, and your virtual assistant team could do this. Use the AI tone analyzer to then have the conversation of using what we call GPS, again, learned from Mike Chu, goals, pain, solutions, going through their goals, pain, solution to qualify them. So the AI informed virtual assistant is using AI as me in my tone, finding their goals, pain, solutions to see if they're qualified. And anyone who's qualified, book a game plan call. And that's how we're getting calls booked. And it depends on what the CTA is, but that's our strategy, is to get those calls booked, or direct them to our Facebook group, or direct them to our quiz that we could, whatever the virtual assistant believes that will add the most value to them. That's what we'll direct them to. But if they're a qualified prospect, we want to get on a call with them to see if we could help them in their business.
Couple of questions. The 3-2-1, is this all happening in the same day, or are you spreading the likes and comments out?
Happens, that's all one message. So it's essentially, if anybody gets a message, it happens 3-2-1. So we want the user to feel like I was scrolling, you popped up, it says people you should know. Like, this is what I want them to believe.
Yeah.
I saw that, I clicked, oh, maybe I'm supposed to know you. We have some mutual friends. I scrolled on your page, I liked a couple things, commented a couple things, and I shot you a message and a friend request. That's the experience that I want the user to feel, because that's how it is. That's how it was. I was doing this before I delegated it. That's what I would do. I would do exactly that process. So I created a process that can replicate what I was doing without me doing it. And that is like every part of my business. That's onboarding and interviewing and training and all admin, email, inbox management, calendar, like all this one system. I have probably 12 VAs who do that for all different things. And that's helped me buy back my time, which is why I love Dan Martell's book. I've modeled his philosophies and pair that with Dan Sullivan's Who Not How, put those two things together. And it's given me a lot of time freedom to spend time on what matters most to me, which is being an intentional father, an intentional husband, and hanging out with front row dads and expanding my circle and doing the things that matter most to me. So
I love that, man. When you're having these conversations, and I can absolutely see how and why this would work, obviously, because it's so organic, it's so authentic. You hit them with the text, follow up with the voice. Up until this point, there's been no real ask, right? It's just value, authenticity. And I realize it's going to be different for everybody because it's driven, but in the process, when do you pivot to the offer?
that's the GPS. So the goals pain solution is where we're qualifying them. So the back and forth conversation that's happening is, and by the way, if you don't mind me asking the question, the transition question, if you mind me asking, what do you do for work? What type of business are you in? And then it's like, if they are business, cool. Like, goal, what are some of the goals that you're working towards in the business right now? Cool. Have a conversation, exchange 1 or 2 exchanges. Great. That's awesome. By the way, kudos to you. Really great goals. With those goals in mind, do you foresee a couple of challenges or road bumps or anything that's kind of on the horizon that you're kind of working through, or like predictable challenges that might come your way? Again, that's something I would say my VA knows, that has the tone analyzer to kind of like use. It's like, says something like, use this phrase as Mike, but make it make sense in the context of responding to what Susie says, right? Like, that's how they're using the tone analyzer. So it like makes sense in the context. And then once we know what their challenges are, it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people in the industry are experiencing that. What do you think some viable solutions are to that? If they say, well, I'm not really sure, or they say, well, I'm trying to work through this, or I'm working with a coach on this, like depending on what their response is, that's when we'll go to whatever a CTA might be, whether it be, hey, do you feel like it would be beneficial to be surrounded in a community of other like-minded people like you? We have a community of 1,500 entrepreneurs in our Facebook group. We'd love to invite you. Or the CTA is, hey, if you feel like would it possibly benefit you to have a team of AI informed virtual assistants to kind of like support you with your business endeavors? Would you want to hop on a call for us to talk a little bit about that? We have our coaching pillar. Have you ever thought about having a business coach? We offer some consulting services. Maybe it might be able to help to have like a soundboard. We would do a free consultation with you if you're interested, or it would be, we have a quiz. Do you want to have, take a quiz to figure out what your business needs are? So it's like, we have a few different drop downs. We have a 5-day mini course, low ticket offer. If they're just getting started out, it's a startup $29 offer. So the VA knows, like, depending on their responses, if this, then that, except when, right? So that's kind of how it's dialed in. But it's an authentic conversation. It takes a little time to get them into a qualification process. But the most important statistic, in my opinion, is the response rate. That's all I've been focused on for Q3. How could we get more people to respond? So forget about the sale. We can't sell someone if we're not in conversation with them. So I spent a lot of energy on the front end. Let me get more people to respond to me, and then we'll start dialing in even more in the back end and the conversion end. But I feel like too many people are trying to get let me get the quick prospect right now, turn them into a client as soon as possible, where I want to add value to them as much as possible, and then make sure it's an authentic connection, make sure it feels very human before we go in and say, hey, by the way, I have something to offer you.
I love that. I love that you have multiple conduits too. That's something I failed at entrepreneurially. Before I sold my agency, I should have had exactly what you said. Here's the mini course, here's the group, here's the whatever, and for us, it was just like, we do Google Ads. And it worked, but there was missed opportunities for connection. Talk to me a little bit about that quiz. That sounds cool. And I think I know what you're talking about because I've heard you talk about it before. So give us what's the skinny on that?
Yeah. If you're listening, go to betterthanrich.com/quiz, and it'll give you 10 questions. And just the questions alone, I don't know about you, but when you take it, you'll find out they really got me thinking of, like, how much time do I take off? Or if I did want to take time off, how dialed in are my processes? Or it'll ask questions like, how do you start your day? What are the first things that you do to start your day? How do you end your day? Like, those types of questions are really powerful, and it will give you 3 options depending on which one you pick. And at the end, it'll give you a score. And depending on that score, it will let you know what type of business owner you are. I've been all different types of business owners. I could assure you, the first one being a grinder. The grinder is the person who wakes up to their phone, and the first thing they do is look at the phone and see, do I have any messages for the day? The grinder is the person who ends the day looking at their phone. The grinder is the person who's answering their phone constantly, putting out, answering inquiries or responding, like a lot of reaction mode for the grinder. It's like the business cannot exist without the grinder. The grinder goes on vacation, the business goes on vacation. I've definitely been there. The manager is someone who has a team, but the manager's like this bottleneck. Like, the team is constantly asking the manager for approval on things. So it's like, hey, is this okay? Do you approve this? We want to spend money on this. Is that okay? Constantly like putting out fires. This person quit. So it's like, one of the questions might be, if someone on your staff quit, what would that do to your business or something like that? The manager is like, oh, I got to step in. I got to handle that. I got to put out that fire. So they're constantly called. The visionary is someone who, they're working on the business a lot of times. It's like, I'm the strategist for my business. What are the things that we're focusing on 3 to 5 years from now? What are the KPIs? They're constantly looking at the numbers and the data and looking out for trends. So the visionary is someone who is, their number one focus is, how can I remove myself from the cog of the machine? How can I not be the person that's in the business, but how can I lead the business through people and through systems and through tech and team, essentially? So either one of those, I've been at all 3. The quiz, depending on where you're at, will give you essentially a PDF. We're also building out videos for whatever style you are, to give you insights of like, okay, if you're a grinder doing this, here's a couple of tools and tips that can help you with that. If you're a manager, these are some ways and best practices for you to onboard staff using video. So that way you don't have to be a cog in that machine. If you're a visionary and get stuck and you're like, I know I need to work on my business, but I don't know what to focus on. What are the questions I should be asking myself? How do I know that, how do I know where the problems or the holes in my ship are? How can I figure those things out? So either one of those, we want to give you some resources to help. So that's essentially what the quiz is. And then on the back end of that quiz is just like PDFs, funnels, workbooks, worksheets. It's a really cool value add that we wanted to bring to the marketplace. So we've been working on it for the last several months.
Yeah, and the resources, you do this a lot in front row dads where we'll be talking about something and then, you guys drop in and you're like, oh, we have this, whatever it is, 30-page, you
Mhm.
know, it's, I mean, they're little novellas really, but I guess workbook is the right word. And they're really well thought through. A ton of value there. I appreciate you coming on, man. If somebody wants to work with you, if they want to hire a VA or they want to work with you from a coaching perspective, what's the best way to get in touch?
We would love to have a call. I mean, they could go to betterthanrich.com/free call and we'll do 15-minute consultation with them. They hop on, we'll have a conversation, poke around their business, see what their needs are. And if they need coaching, we'll talk about coaching. We'll set up a coaching call. And if they need virtual assistants and a team of AI informed virtual assistants, we could set them up for with someone on our team that we could talk about virtual assistants with them. We would provide them a team of AI informed VAs to do all their all their admin work for them, do the lead gen for them, marketing, social media content creation, all of that, video editing, pretty much any of those types of under $25 per hour tasks our team can handle for them. So if they need systems coach and design, we'll direct them towards that direction. They need VA support, we'll set them that direction. But the most important part is the 15-minute non-sales consultation is just to figure out what your needs are. We're not going to sell you anything. And then we'll figure out, okay, what's the best direction if you did want to get, sold something. We'll kind of, put you towards that if that is aligned with you and where you're at.
That's awesome. Well, I'm a fan, dude. I appreciate you coming and sharing value with our community. Last words to you. Any parting gifts for our audience?
I just want to say thank you, Kasim, man. From meeting you until now, I would say you've really helped me think differently about business, and I truly am grateful for you as a human and as a friend. And I just want to say, just keep doing what you're doing, man. It's helping a ton of people. So thank you, and listener, dude, keep listening to the Kasim Show. I'm a fan, so I appreciate everything you're doing, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. If you're watching or listening, we'll include all the links we talked about in the show notes. Go hang out with Mike and the team at Better Than Rich. They've got a lot to share. And I shoot a video every day, so I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Will AI replace me? I don't like the way this conversation is manifesting, by the way. It's very polarized. On one hand, you're like, oh my goodness, the world's going to end. Chicken Little, sky's falling. Everybody's job is gone. And then on the other end is, no, you're going to be fine. There's no risk whatsoever. Bury your head in the sand. I'm in the middle.